Hi, I'm Ashley, and you are listening and watching Confidence in Coffee. I'm your new bestie. And the first thing I want you to know is that I see you and I hear you. I see the struggles, I know them, and there's hope. What if I was to tell you that you can find confidence despite any of your circumstances, good or bad? I'm going to help you navigate the waters of womanhood, whatever season that is in, whether it's marriage, singleness, or you're drowning in children. I got you, girl. I'm your new bestie. Listen, I'm going to help you find confidence and hope through Christ, help you navigate. And I'm going to leave you with plenty of encouragement and practical tips to overcome those limiting beliefs so you can live a life well. Plus, we're going to find a few laughs along the way. So grab your favorite cup of coffee and join me as we chat confidence and coffee. Hey girl, do you love social media like I do? If so, I would love to see the value that you gain from confidence and coffee or just your favorite episode. And don't forget to tag me so I can share it too. Welcome back on Confidence and Coffee. We are not playing no games, okay, in this season. And it wouldn't be fair of me to. I don't like it when people like play games with me. I don't like it when people fluff things. And so I am not wasting any time in speaking about issues or laughing about them. Sometimes we laugh at laughing is a coping mechanism, but it's okay. Do you know why? Because joy of the Lord is my strength. Okay, I'm getting off here, you guys. Listen, we're going to talk about boundaries, but not just boundaries. We're going to talk about healthy boundaries versus bad boundaries because there is such a thing. There is a healthy boundary we set in place, but sometimes people mix up and abuse the word boundary to try to protect themselves from hurt or not deal with something. And that's just not the church and that's just not godly. And so we really need to know the difference if we are going to create a healthy lifestyle as a Christian and have healthy relationships. So we're going to dive right in here. But first, I wanted to mention to you guys with what we're talking about, I am going to drop another freebie, another gift that I want to give you, and it's called Find Your Tribe. And it is ways to identify, really truly finding those healthy relationships that we strive for because we were designed for relationships. God designed us introvert, extrovert. We need people. Okay. So we don't want unhealthy people and we don't want unhealthy friends and we don't want to waste our time with people that don't want to celebrate us or want to keep us to a minimum. We want people in our lives that are going to help us grow and strive and be better uh, in Christ. And so I'm going to drop that for you. It's free, so check out the show notes. And don't forget to leave a review, you guys. Reviews are super helpful. I really want to kind of touch on that a little bit. Sharing on your social media, dropping a quick review, a written review for me is really helpful to this podcast and to others that need to listen to it just so they can feel encouraged in the way that I hope you're feeling. So there's that announcement or whatever we want to call it. But let's dive right in. Establishing healthy boundaries, which is what we're going to touch on first and really define what a boundary is an important part of being healthy. It really is. It's an important part of a healthy lifestyle. Clear boundaries in both our lives and relationships are the key to success in both. Okay, so whether you are out on a date with a new person, or taking on extra work, uh, helping out your teammates. It's crucial that there are boundaries at work, in your marriage, with family. It's crucial that those boundaries are well defined and enforced consistently. Now, unfortunately, boundaries are not always made to be healthy, they're abused. Sometimes the boundary we put up designed to prevent us from being hurt or facing rejection or burnout, which is a good boundary, it can backfire and inflicting real harm on the ability to thrive. So I deal with this a lot with my clients as a coach. We always go through moving forward because there are not boundaries set in some of their relationships with my clients. They actually cannot move forward in the goals that are set in place for them to succeed and where God wants them to be. And so the first thing I love to do with clients is establish those really quick. And what you find out sometimes is that when you create boundaries for unhealthy people, they react in an unhealthy way. And it can be someone we truly care about. It can be a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It can be a mom or a dad. And I have dealt with clients who have had to set boundaries in both. And some have turned out to be really good and healthy for the relationship. And then some, it broke off. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because your goal in life is to avoid getting hurt, but also to avoid that other person getting hurt as well. And so when we set those with unhealthy people, they act in unhealthy ways, which again is not a bad thing. Because the reality is, and I want to encourage you with this, if they react in an unhealthy way, that's on them, that's not on you. And you have to know that. You have to establish yourself so much so that knowing that you're protecting yourself, your value, your worth, your time, your family is good for you, and you should never be in question about that. If anything, it should reveal who they are in your life. And thank God it's revealed now. It like and preventing any more damage that could be caused. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about what boundaries are in the first place. Her personal and professional boundaries are all about defining what kind of behavior is acceptable and what kind is not. Boundaries don't only apply to interpersonal relationships, they also form from the framework of your personal, spiritual, and political beliefs. Some people define boundaries as the kind of behavior we expect from other people in our lives. This is not entirely accurate. In my opinion, while we can certainly hope or expect that our friends or family will not treat us poorly, this is not realistic. It's not. Families fight, and friends, they have misunderstandings or feuds or whatever, and unfortunately have no real control over other people. We don't. Let's go ahead and check that off. We have no real control over other people. And if you think you do, you probably need to go to God and ask if you're being manipulative, because that is not Christ-like. And the way people try to control people, and a lot of people have been a victim of this, is they get manipulated. So test your own self on this as well. So the last thing we want to do is control other people. We can only control ourselves. How many of us tell our kids that? I tell my alpha, second, strong willed son who loves justice and to really try to control the environment is that the only person that he can control is himself. He can control no one else. So, what is a good boundary? Good boundaries prevent us from being at the mercy of the behavior of others. Have you ever met someone who puts up few, if any, boundaries in their lives? They are often walked upon by everyone simply because they can be. Call me cynical here. Okay. I used to be walked on by everybody. People pleaser. Okay. Where's my people pleasers? My healing, restored people pleasers here. But if you are regularly dependent on the kindness of strangers, then you are going to be disappointed every day, daily. If you are just thinking everyone's going to be kind to you and everyone's going to look out for you and everyone's going to have your life in their mind and everything that you have going on, you will sadly be disappointed. You have got to set that boundary for yourself, no matter how nice you think that person is. Setting up good boundaries means that you know how to take care of yourself and keep yourself safe from those who wish to use you for their own ends. I have been the victim of this on the other side, and I've also have done this to people. And because I am an Enneagram 3, I'm very ambitious. I love success. I'm a hard worker. I don't like to mess around. I like to get stuff done. It's a good thing, it's a bad thing, but it can sometimes get out of control. And I tend to take advantage of the people or my team around me. And I have to back up and be like, whoa, that's not healthy. And we don't want to create a hostile environment or a hostile team player, because that's a whole nother level of issues, which we will talk about with resentment and unspoken expectations, which we've talked about before. You can go check out expectations in another episode. So let's get back to that. You're going to be disappointed daily, and setting up good boundaries means taking care of yourself. Now, I know this is easier said than done. Let's be real. There are countless people out there who are strong and intelligent and powerful, but have still been at the receiving end of physical, emotional, or even sexual abuse, despite the boundaries they have set up. What your personal boundaries allow you to do is know and gauge when someone infringes on you. Write that down. You can make them informed, you can make an informed decision about what you want to do. And from that point, whether it be to go for help from a friend or even report them to your boss or other authority, that should be a boundary. Boundaries are also very useful when it comes to making up your own mind. Effective decision making requires you to know what you want and what you don't want. Where's my indecisive people? I know, okay? But it's time to stand up for yourself. Now, if you don't have healthy boundaries in place, there's a good chance that your wishes will be overruled. You will be taken advantage of by others in most situations. That's why it is critical to create healthy boundaries. Again, in your workplace, in your relationships, in your marriage, in your family. Now, bad boundaries. While boundaries can be useful to keep us from harm or to be sucked the life out of us by other people or stepped on or taken advantage of, they can also harm us unless we are cautious. So let's say that you were in a passionate relationship and it ended badly. Your heart was broken in a way that you never thought it could be. In that kind of situation, putting up a personal boundary that would prevent you from being hurt that way, again, is entirely understandable. We want to call that a wall. We want to maybe call that fear of rejection. Whatever it is, from being hurt by a narcissist, being out of abused in your family, in your home life, that is understandable to want to put up a boundary. Now, unfortunately, this can also hurt you. I know, because I did this for years. What if a year or two later, you meet someone who is your soulmate, who is a good man or woman, but you reject them because of the boundaries that you put up way back when you were heartbroken, that nobody was ever going to hurt you or take advantage of you again? In that case, that would be a bad boundary. And you wouldn't be able to see any good in any person because you would be so alert on them hurting you. And we push good people out of our lives. Now, this also applies to taking chances in your professional life. If you have experienced a lot of rejection professionally, also have experienced this, you might set up unconscious boundaries that protect you from the frustration and the pain of being able to find professional fulfillment. I have been taken advantage of by people that I've hired on my team, and they didn't do their work, or they just used up all my money and they didn't do what they had promised they were going to deliver. And it made me want to put a wall up to people that wanted to be on my team. And I became very alert of this, and I really had to go back to God and ask for discernment about really creating a healthy boundary with people that I hire on and being very clear about my expectations, but also not being so on guard and defensive or naggy, like, are you going to do, are you going to do, are you going to do it, based off someone else and what they did to hurt me. Now, oops. Unfortunately, this boundary could also prevent you from taking the risk necessary to get ahead in your career. You're going to be too scared that someone's going to hurt you or reject you. Or let's say you're looking for a job and you've got constant rejection, and you've hit walls and no one's hiring you, and you start to question yourself and your ability and your identity and your worth, and you know that's not right, so you just quit altogether. You don't need to feel that way. But what's dangerous is when it stops us from pursuing. We don't want to stop pursuing. We just don't want to get into questioning ourselves. We need to feel the rejection. We need to feel the hurt. We need to feel the disappointment. But we do not need to stay there, and we do not need to use that as a guard to keep us from moving forward. It is easier said than done. So take it day by day. Now, this isn't to say that these boundaries aren't useful at first. They are. As a single mother, these boundaries helped me survive. And then there was a time that God said it's time to put them down when I met my soulmate. And that was the hardest thing I have ever had to do, and it still worked. But God is teaching me. He will bring that to you. So these are useful. And there are seasons for really strict boundaries for you to heal, because that is so important to the Lord in your relationship with Him. After a bad breakup, you definitely don't want to meet someone new. Okay? Constant professional rejection, you just got fired. Let's not be impulsive and try to start our own business. Let's feel. Okay? Because sometimes what we want to do is not get a job or not in a healthy way pursue our career. We want to build up our ego because we have found our worth in what we do. But this is a great opportunity to step back and really evaluate your worth and clarity, and really see in the direction that God wants you to go in. It's an opportunity to create a boundary, not to be impulsive and be like, I'm being rejected, I'm just going to do this, this, and this, and this. We have to be very careful of that, because what can happen is there is a difference between protecting yourself and then just being closed in. Okay, so closed in is, no one's going to ever hurt me, no one's ever going to make me feel worthless ever again, no one's ever going to abuse me, and you relate that with everyone, rather than really diving into that healing and discerning flags of people, and understanding to create consistent boundaries with everyone, but healthy boundaries with the intention that they're not a bad person, by knowing the flags of what a bad person is, right? Have you ever heard that's a red flag? Well, this time it's the time to go on it, right? But we want to be really careful with that, not to be closed in. So, one of the reasons why you need good boundaries in your life is to protect yourself from people like that, okay? People that don't know boundaries. So, if you don't have boundaries whatsoever, not only will you be disappointed, and I have been disappointed, but there are kinds of people that can be offensive and say bad things and be rude, and they will push up against the physical limits of others, hugging them even though the person might not be comfortable with them doing that. And you could easily be like, I'm not comfortable with you hugging me. You could redirect, like with a handshake or high five, before that even becomes a potential situation that you're in. That's a boundary. Now, that's another reason why you need boundaries in your life. because you can't control how someone treats you. You can't control other people's behavior. You can't even control how they feel if they're the offended one by your boundary. You can't control that, but you certainly can control how you react to them. So if they try to hug you, let's go back to that. You can say, no, don't hug me. If they say something incredibly offensive, you can say, that's not funny. And if they're offended by that boundary, that's on them, not on you, because you now know who you are. Another time for another podcast. Now, people like this will often become offended and when you call them out. And it's uncomfortable for you to call them out because we live in a culture where you don't call people out. You let them hug you, you let them take advantage of you, you say yes to everybody, you let them say inappropriate jokes and you let it go. No, 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 no. That is a toxic culture, and that is why that a lot of people are in the situation that they're in now. Turning on my heating pad because my butt's cold. Okay. We're in the situation that we're in now. So if they become offended, and most likely they will, if you haven't already experienced this, you will at some point, then what you need to do is call them out on their lack of respect for you, for others, personal boundaries. They'll say stuff like this, maybe, geez, calm down. Oh my gosh, it doesn't mean anything. Like, what's stuck up your butt? Lighten up. It was a joke. Trust me, trust me. It did mean something and it wasn't a joke. And I have called people out on inappropriate jokes they've said to me, and it creates a healthy boundary. And if they don't want to be in your life anymore, honey, that's on them, not on you. And it hurts, but it's what's best for you. And so here's my question to you with these kind of people. And I say this to my clients as well. So is it worth having them in your life for all the hurt that they continue to cause you, the resentment that you are consumed with, the offense, the burnout, the lack of joy, you're not protecting your peace just to have them in your life? Because that's what you're going to get from them. They're not going to change. They're not going to somehow miraculously be better for you. You're going to set a boundary, and if they go away, then that's who they are. And you have to heal from that. So ask yourself that question. Now, for me, with boundaries, it boils down to respect, to my value, my worth, of respecting my space and theirs. I respect their boundaries. Even if I don't understand them, that's their boundary and I respect it. And you have to do that too. You have to not only respect your boundaries, but you also have to respect their boundaries. Just like uh, you would want them to respect yours, you have to respect theirs, even if you don't understand it. Even if you're like, what? Like, I'm like the best person ever. It doesn't matter. That's their boundary. And so don't make allowances for people who also repeatedly pushed you beyond where you feel comfortable. Don't make allowances. Don't make excuses for them. Again, that is a cultural belief that we grew up in, that we make excuses for the way people behave, but that's just not simply acceptable. And you can love them, but you don't have to allow them to treat you that way. So you can set a boundary, a healthy boundary. Part of taking charge of your own story is taking charge of how you react to other people's behavior. And if someone is genuinely infringing on your boundary, it's time to take action. We talk a lot about love and about Jesus and about how much he loves us and how we should accept him. And sometimes he brings people in our lives. And I want to make that very clear because the first thing I want you to do in taking this practice is really pray for discernment. And some people have like a more extreme feeling of discernment because it's a gift than others, but God will give you discernment. He will protect you. What got me through in some of my hardest years was this scripture. When I was alone and I was a single mother and I had just got out of a bad relationship, I was so afraid of people. I had been taken advantage of so much that people scared me. I wanted love and acceptance so bad, but because of that, I had let so many people walk all over me. And so I had become the other extreme where no one was ever going to do that to me. And I knew God was opening me back up to community with Him once I accepted Him into my life. And in that, what got me through some of those hardest seasons of my life was the scripture about if God is for me, who can be against me? God is for you today. And because He is for you, no one can come against you because He goes before you and He protects you. And He already has anointed and put in place the people He wants in your life to journey with you. And He will show you the ones that you need to leave behind because they were never meant to go with you in the first place. So I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you to download the free gift, Find Your Tribe. I'm also going to ask you to evaluate your community. I also want you to evaluate your boundaries because understand we were made for a community. We need healthy friends to hold us accountable. And accountability is becoming so rare in the world that we live in that people think that sin is okay and it's not. We should always strive to be like Christ. We will always fall short, but we should never make an excuse or identify with that shortcoming. We should want to be better. Where you draw the line on that boundary is believing the truth of who God says that you are. You can set boundaries for yourself. I won't think worthless thoughts. I won't think that and question myself and who God says I am. I won't question God. I will set a boundary to choose my spouse every single day. So remember to do that for yourself too. If you found this helpful today, if you said, yes, I'm setting those boundaries, yes, I'm taking away those unhealthy boundaries, whatever it is, I want you to share this on your social media. I want to hear from you. I want to hear how this has helped you in your life. I want to challenge you to step out a little bit. And even more so, leave a review. If you are finding value and confidence in coffee, drop a review where you are right now, and let's get other people the encouragement and the value that they need as well. I love you guys, and I will see you next week on Confidence in Coffee.
Did you enjoy that? I'd love to see you over at ashleyhenrat.com, where you can subscribe to this podcast and channel on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And while you're at it, I'd love to see the value that you found in Confidence in Coffee. So drop the ratings, the reviews, and the comments. Let's subscribe to this channel and tell a friend too. I'd love to see you over on TikTok or Instagram, where I keep it real in the reels, okay? Make sure you tune in next time on Confidence in Coffee.